Greetings to all peoples and kingdoms of Foti, and welcome to Shield Maidens of Foti. In these days of confusion and darkness, there is much need for light and inspiration as we all fight the long defeat. With this in mind, here are 15 of J.R.R. Tolkien's best quotes from the Fellowship of the Ring. They are not in order according to their greatness, but simply according to the order in which they appear. May they bring light and joy and laughter to your day, and guide you along your own journey. So sit back and let this shield maiden be your guide into the wonderful world of Middle-earth. This is such a classic, simple quote laced with blunt humor that no list of Tolkien's quotes would be complete without it. Does it come out to a compliment, an insult, something in between? A fellow shield maiden of mine declared after her own consideration that it was indeed a compliment. Let us know your own opinion in the comments below. This simple yet enigmatically gruff statement could only come from a hobbit, and only from Bilbo Baggins at that. Rare are those authors who can spin 4 sentences in 29 words and leave us with a profound, powerful statement that goes beyond the simple conversation. Hidden here in Gandalf's words, we find the need for mercy, the demand for justice, and the humble assertion that as much as man's heart desires it is not always capable of meting out those 2 great virtues, nor can it see into the inmost recesses of the human soul in order to make the judgments necessary to do so. In the end, we see how mercy and justice both came together to end the evil of the Ring and bring peace to Middle-earth. Nothing else need ever be said about the loyalty and dogged determination of hobbits. Merry Brandybuck says it all here as plainly as even Sam's gaffer would have said it. They are terrified, they know not what the future holds, but they will not leave their friend to face those dangers alone. Trust goes only so far one direction, and then it becomes folly. And lucky for Frodo that Merry and Pippin and Sam had so much of that latter trait, well then the quest might have ended very differently indeed. More of a small discourse than a quote, but nonetheless carrying with it all the power and truth that any of the before-mentioned words did. The world is full of deceit and darkness, and much of it is disguised as light. Those who seem fair and eloquent and smooth of tongue and appearance do not always have evil in their hearts, but such is often the case. One such as Strider, beaten and worn by the long hard years in the wilds, certainly would not look like anyone 4 young hobbits would be likely to trust. But all the mud and rain and ragged clothing cannot hide a true heart. All that is gold does not glitter. Hobbits are such simple creatures, and yet the words can warm us in such profound ways. Life itself is an adventure, a story, and that story just keeps getting passed on from father to son, from mother to daughter, from parent to child. Live life as an adventure, carry on the story, and face the day with the courage of a man, the wisdom of an elf, the determination of a dwarf, and the simple joy of a hobbit. It was not until I saw this quote commented in connection with the recent Rings of Power TV series that I began to truly understand Gandalf's wisdom. Our world today likes to dissect things. This is not in itself bad, but when, for example, a beautiful piece of literature is broken and torn, and when the truths that are contained within that piece of work are twisted and made to satisfy our world and culture today, we have left the path of wisdom indeed. The whole story, the whole overarching plane of things, is very often missed because we are too busy tearing apart things to reach the individual parts that made up that entirety. There is more to life than the cogs and wheels that are visible under a microscope. You must understand the whole before you can understand the part. At first a seeming paradox, and then it becomes quite clear how very true Gandalf speaks. Despair is the opposing force to hope, and hope cannot be had without faith, and faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Therefore, to see the end of something with certainty leaves us with no reason to hope. Instead, this opposing force, despair, takes its place in our heart. To see a horrible end would surely cause us to despair, but even seeing a hoped for beautiful end, we do not know how we might achieve it. Very rarely are we granted the gift of knowing the end of a thing, and in light of Gandalf's words, we might see the walk by faith that we are all thrust into as a greater gift, rather than a sure knowledge of our path in life. Dwarves can be as outspoken as hobbits, as Gimli, son of Gloin, so well proves, but his words are not without wisdom. How many of us find ourselves yearning to step aside from the task or path that we have been given when difficulties and trials come our way? How many of us find ourselves stepping in shame away from our friends to let them continue the path alone because our hearts have failed us? It is a tempting thought to simply leave it all behind and walk on to easier roads, to safer, less dark paths. But let us remember that, above all shadows, rides the sun. The day and the journey may seem dark, but we can find our hope and our determination in Gimli's words. Even Legolas, at first cold towards the stout-hearted smaller being, found his own determination as he echoes them at Parth Galen. It would be faithless now to say farewell. For many fans of Tolkien, this may seem like an ill fit for a video on the 15 best quotes from the Fellowship of the Ring. But for someone whose favorite character is Aragorn in particular, and the Rangers in general, then Gandalf's words are endearing and incredibly touching, as they show the ultimate trust that he has placed in the last chieftain of Dunedain. Aragorn is facing the very greatest of tests in a life that has been wrought with them, and Gandalf's words surely brought a touch of warmth to his heart and courage to his soul. Gandalf can be as sarcastically humorous as he is encouraging, and we have Pippin to thank for the opportunity of adding this quote to the Whistle's wide store. The young hobbit certainly had a lot of growing and learning to do, and perhaps Gandalf's words helped to set that spark of awareness in his mind, and make him into the worthy companion of Merry Brandybuck, who threw down Isengard and slew the great Troll at the final battle. Who knows? Maybe more of us need a Gandalf in our lives to tell us what real force overtook. Once again, Gandalf's words make their way onto this list of the 15 best quotes from the Fellowship of the Ring. This one is wrought with power, strength, both physical and spiritual, and the unveiling of Gandalf's true nature and powers. The secret fire that Gandalf speaks of is a flame imperishable that Eru Ilúvatar holds, and thus, by these words, he declares himself to this demon of the blackness as being the servant of the very One himself. The aged old wizard is a champion of the light, a defeater of the darkness, and though for a time it seems to the Fellowship that their champion died in his deed, Gandalf in the end was rewarded for his faithfulness and his determined stand against evil.
Fly, you fools!
Even in his last apparent moments, Gandalf was not one to pass the opportunity to impart famous last words. With the bluntness of a hobbit and the stubborn selflessness of his own giving nature, Gandalf leaves the stunned Fellowship with the words they need to continue on their quest, and the rest of the world with a perfect quote for generating memes. Hardir, in my opinion, is one of those characters who are poorly represented in the movies. In Peter Jackson's films, he comes across as cold and haughty, whereas in the books he was welcoming while even discharging his duty as March Warden of Lothlorien. He granted the fellowship rest and was courteous even to Gimli, apologizing later when the lady of the land made it known that the dwarf was to walk unbound. And he had much wisdom to offer. Hardy understands that the way to love and victory must sometimes be through pain and peril, and when that love is mingled with grief, that love grows all the greater, for love tried and love tested is the greatest love there is. No list of Tolkienian wisdom would be complete without a reference to Sam's ode Gaffer. Who knows how the fellowship might have gone had Sam not had handfast, corky words of wisdom and truth to lean on through trials and troubles. Always spoken with brutal honesty and charming frankness, oftentimes with wit and humor and sarcasm to match Gandalf or Gimli. None can ever fault Sam's Gaffer for speaking wrong. The job that's never started will certainly take the longest to finish. The Lady of Light speaks these words to the hobbit Frodo, as the latter considers whether to look into the Elven Queen's mirror. Frodo asks whether she counsels him to gaze into the waters of the mirror or not, and she replies that she cannot counsel him either way. She is no fortune-teller to see every path of the future or what it may hold. You may learn something, and whether what you see be fair or evil, that may be profitable, and yet it may not. Then she speaks these words of wisdom. Seen is both good and perilous. To know what we face in our future, to know for certain what it is that he must do, that can be good, or as Gandalf remarked, it can be the path of despair. Frodo does gaze into the mirror, and although he is troubled by the visions he sees, his stout hobbit heart endures, and he does not turn from that path of danger as others may have. There are many more words of wisdom and truth from Tolkien hidden in his works than the ones I have set out. What is your favorite quote and why? Tell us in the comments below, and then share some words from Gandalf, Galadriel, Bilbo, Hot Air, or Merry Brandybuck with someone in your life who may need to remember that the world is indeed full of peril, and in it are many dark places, but still there is much that is fair. Thank you for joining with me today through the World of Autumn. Please like this video, subscribe to Shield Maidens, and join us again so we can explore more of Middle-earth together. Namadi.